Okay, so today we're going to be talking about agile working and why it's essential really for organizations in today's climate, and how the Helix solution can really help organizations to embrace that through technology as an enabler. And the modules that we're going to be looking at, it says on the slide here, is BMC Helix Agility Suite for project and portfolio management, and also visual boards for ITSM to promote that agile way of working within organizations. I'm Chris Calderone, and I'm a BMC partner, a fusion solution engineer, as Bob's mentioned before earlier on. And I'm going to be your host for the next kind of 45 minutes. And I'm going to really take you on that journey to look at the kind of value solution that Helix offers around this space, and the tools really and the technology to support organizations to transition really to that proactive and responsive state. So let's go ahead and make a start. So we're going to start really at the beginning. Let's move that down a bit. And what we're going to do is start at the journey, and we're going to talk about really why Agile and what the benefits are before we start to talk about how the Helix tools that I'm going to be talking about address it. So, because a lot of people, when you mention the word Agile, sometimes it's a buzzword, of course, and sometimes people immediately think about software development. So I'm going to talk about how this fits in to the wider organizational needs, especially nowadays. So let's go ahead and take a look. So why Agile working? I mean, we all know recently over the past few years the effects that have happened all across the globe really, and how that's really driven turbulence in the technological market, and how really going forward the need for technology has grown at a tremendous pace, as other people have talked about. And I say need for technology because of course all around us is the proof of that, right? That we need, you know, more digital autonomy faster. And the way that we see that is because there's a number of organizations that you hear on the news, that you see on the telly, that have been left behind because they've not been agile and they've not been able to transform digitally. I mean, people talk about the blockbuster video stores, of course, back from the 80s and onwards, and how Netflix kind of really overtook them and transitioned to that agile state really overnight and became the digital conglomerate that they are today. Also over here in the UK, a number of retail stores struggled as well and went under, quite a popular one, particularly in Debenhams, because they were unable to transform digitally. They weren't agile and they weren't in that state to be able to transform. So we understand the need really, and with more and more technology available like Internet of Things, AI, machine learning, a type of AI, etc., it's only going to grow, right? That's what we get. So therefore, to compete and excel in today's world, really, our businesses for tomorrow, because it's only going to get more and more, the need is to adapt to change in real time, then we need to be agile across the business, and we need technology as an enabler to be able to do that. So adopting agile, what it really means is quite a few things that I've listed out on the left-hand side, and these are quite a few things that you're going to see as key themes as we get to the kind of Helix solution area. So it's putting the customer at the heart of every decision across that journey. Okay, it means unifying the organization to common strategic goals. It's promoting collaboration and to think and work holistically and increase that visibility. It's about driving continual service improvement. It's about being able to compete in today's market. Now, when we talk about, as I said, about, you know, the software development side, I mean, I put this right-hand image on, which I got after reading ITIL version 4, and of course now ITIL version 4 is much more aligned to that agile mindset more than it's ever been really, when in version 3, of course, it describes it as being a checklist, but that checklist was already picked up by organizations and adopted in a biblical way, really, followed processes and procedures to the book, which is not really what it was designed for. But with version 4, you can see it's exempting, ITIL are exempting that service life cycle and really focusing on the service value system, and organizations really focusing on service value and what value is, and getting the most value out of the services that they provide to their end customers, to partners, etc., etc. And when I was doing some research, and I've been working with Gardner quite recently actually on the Helix Agility Suite, the one thing that stuck out, which, you know, we all as humans find difficult really, which is change, you know, and change is very difficult. It takes us out of our comfort zone. But in this world that we're in, we've got to be able to embrace change and uncertainty. And the way to do that simply is to be in an agile state, to be able to grow. So talking a little bit about ITIL and service management and version 4 and agile, we got to think wider to be able to deliver value across the organization. Okay, so thinking about Helix and the solution and looking at the diagram on the right hand side, it's not just things like incidents, requests, problems, changes, releases. All of these work in unison really with things like projects and tasks, work orders. So it's the full kind of life cycle that's going to enable an organization to really extract and deliver that value holistically. And when we talk about projects on the other side of the fence to service management, and we get a lot more requirements now where people are looking to encompass the project side into the service management side at various different levels. Okay, so it's become more and more prevalent, even though of course project kind of management and portfolio has been around for a few years, but with ITIL version 4 becomes more and more to the head again. So strategic portfolio management, why project and portfolio management, and why not deliver projects, you know, the way that people traditionally do today? Well, being able to have your projects connected to demand, connected to portfolios, and to be able to seamlessly bring changes, incidents, problems into that demand intake, to be able to resource across the organization all your different facets, and to be able to really manage that intake and resource and bring tickets into projects, create tasks out of them. It provides that holistic view, enables you to understand business value, to be able to attach strategy, goals against all these different items that come under portfolios as you bring them into backlogs. And there's a few interesting statistics from the PMI.org and other key market researchers around that I looked up actually, and across organizations that have provided feedback by adopting strategic portfolio management. So a couple of interesting ones. So organizations that adopt strategic portfolio management realize 4 times higher the return on investment from strategic initiatives, and a 30% increase in projects delivered on time and to budget. You know, these are not kind of small figures, there's some significant ones there. And the main one that sticks out really for me is not just being able to plan, adopt and prioritize to deliver faster and to keep your organization relevant and driving into the future, but the 5% increase in effective resource management. I mean, every organization has limited resources, you know, they run streamlined, they need to understand capacity, and they need to understand the value in delivery to be able to put that capacity to the right places. And as Gardner describes, to understand capacity is to understand the utilization of your resources, which can help you determine that capacity. And that's really why strategic portfolio management. And then the kind of link back on the right hand side where I've got this diagram where it shows, you know, why service management and PPM kind of belong together, because to get that value delivery across the organization, you've got to encompass everything that the business deals with: services, products, portfolios, projects, etc. So then why Helix? And now we kind of turn this into the Helix story. So within BMC Helix, Fusion have developed on the BMC Helix platform as part of Innovation Studio what is visual boards for ITSM. And you can see on the left hand side, visual boards promotes agile working in service management processes by using a simple drag and drop display to be able to visualize resources, to be able to drag and drop those resources on tickets, manage bottlenecks, see issues, and really manage the process of work orders, tickets, even for business workflows, as you can see in the diagram on the top, so cases, tasks, all of those things within a visual way, just like software developers do now. And in fact, talking along those lines of Agile across the organization, even in service management, I was at a customer site 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago in the UK, quite a large mobile company, just like I guess Verizon would be in the US. And that company have adopted the Spotify model of Agile, which means that they, across their whole organization, they've got tribes and they've got squads that work within those tribes, just like portfolio as tribes. And then you've got squads with different members in that are really there to deliver products, features, deal with tickets, etc. And that's their whole organization. And we're starting to see that more and more. So being able to work in that way keeps the organization relevant and striving forward. It promotes collaboration, as we've talked about, which is really important, breaking down those barriers and silos and embedding that holistic thinking and working ethos into your employees. Now, not just from the service management perspective, but of course, as you can see on the diagram there, you know, you've got an incident ticket on the top right, and you can and you don't have to necessarily use the categorization. It's an example of a process flow which shows that the resolution category is delivered in project. And what happens is that ticket transfers automatically into the backlog of the portfolio, where you can create requirements and tasks off the back of that to deliver within a project, and of course then update and close the ticket upon completion. We've got a spreadsheet which we've attached with some cool new features that these guys have really been collaborating on and decided and submitted that with a business justification, some strategic information attached to a portfolio, so that that can then go through the demand intake. So it's a centralized demand intake function to manage that demand effectively across the business, because of course then when it goes through Agility Suite, it's going to be resourced up and assessed for risk, etc. And we're going to take a look into that next stage now. So if I pop across to my next tab, and what we'll do now is just delve a little bit, hopefully, into the portfolio. We'll start at the portfolio management level, so you can see now it's not really you know, tied to any particular portfolio. You can build different portfolios organization wide for everything through you see this tribal model that we built for a customer, general IT, finance initiatives, HR, complaints and reviews, etc., etc. Because it's built on Innovation Studio, there's a lot of flexibility and capability there with the workflows, etc., that you can build should you need to. But of course, there's a structured method in there. So it's got a lot of flexibility across the breadth, really, of its capability to deliver all different kinds of portfolios. Now, if we take a look into our general IT portfolio, you'll see underneath our general IT portfolio that across here we've got, and as I go through, you might see the odd scripting error. It's been newly put on this system, but don't worry, the functionality is all there and working. There's just a few teething issues with it. It's quite new. So I'm just going to pop this out of the way because it's going to become annoying soon. So you can see across here you've got details, you've got related, you've got activity. Now underneath related, you can see you can hold either links or all documentation, really, within each stage, whether it be portfolio, demand, down to project. And of course, these different documentation types have fields within them to present different information. So if I looked at a project gate meeting as an example, I've just got a detailed description. But what I can do is I can build these out however I want. So if I decided that I wanted security as an example, and we'll go down and we'll see that, you'll see how different the forms can look, and all those fields can be reported on too. So we'll get back to that in a moment. I just want to explain what we've got here. So we've got a total budget. We've got a number of projects against our total budget here that we can see. And now we start to really feel that whole end-to-end kind of value delivery for the organization, because underneath here we've got IT tickets, and at the top, of course, you can see an IT service, one that I've made up here for service management, but we can get some details pulled back from the CMDB data. Mine are quite scant, quite scarce in here, but you can see that there could be a lot more details here depending on the CI, of course, that's selected. In this case, it's just a high-level business service with a cost allocation per unit. And down here, you can see all the different tickets that have been brought in from Helix ITSM seamlessly and automatically transferred. So that's the benefit of leveraging the end-to-end journey, really, and leveraging Helix Agility Suite alongside Helix ITSM to really encompass that end-to-end journey for the customer. And of course, it's supporting that DevOps way of working. No longer do organizations have to raise changes from stories separately in Jira and get those transferred and speak to ops. It's all kind of joined up if you want to go with a single solution. Now, it's agnostic in this kind of respect. And what that means is that, of course, it's got that link being on the same platform between the different modules of Helix, but through a staging area, it's quite easy to be able to bring in tickets from, say, your ServiceNow system, your Avanti system, depending on what that system is. If you've got multiple service desks, or you're a global organization where other parts of the organization use something different, it's very simple to be able to bring that information from ITSM into Helix as well, and into your backlog, and then create tasks off the back of them. So you can see here we've got unable to access the time recording system. Now, if I click on the incident, we'll get some basic incident details like the ticket ID, the status, the service, who's the ticket assigned to, etc., etc. And what we've done is transfer that ticket. So within kind of Smart IT, if I jump out a minute of where I am just to show you, you can see now we're in the ticket console of ITSM. And we can see this kind of, this whole list, which we can filter, etc. But underneath our More menu, we've got a link which we've got here to visual boards. And visual boards provides, as I was talking about, that drag and drop canvas to be able to work in an agile way within ITSM and quickly look at the different boards, create your different boards. They're all very flexible. You can see I've got from assigned to cancelled over here, but you can structure those boards through configuration and build out different names for those boards, and really have a different set of boards for different departments as well that use it. So think about that in the way that you might want to structure it, or organizations might want to structure it. And you can see, using the simple drag and drop capability, you can go and assign a resource, pop a resource group up here, might be major incident management, and press continue, and you can easily go and reassign different resources. When you've assigned different resources, so like you've got down here, it's popped it to the queue, you can use drag and drop to really progress tickets through the different swim lanes. This is because I've got a lot of a big kind of search criteria going on in there. So that's where you can use it in ITSM. And you can see that from here, we've got our ticket, which was in ITSM, which was worked within visual boards. And now within our portfolio, of course, we've ended up dropping that into our backlog under our general IT portfolio, where we can then click onto there, create requirements. Requirements can then become project tasks and delivered within a project. And once closed, can, of course, update the ticket then bidirectionally, depending on the process that wants to be followed, of course, and different business rules. Now, underneath here, you can see our idea. So we got our idea that was assessed, that popped in underneath there. We've got our vote count. We've got our demand as well, importantly. So after our idea became a demand, then I can go into this demand. And when we look into that demand, you'll see now that we've got value attributed. We've got a risk that's been calculated. We've made a decision that if we approve this, because it's underway approval, we can turn this automatically into an agile project. What does that mean? Well, what it means is underneath here, where you've got all your different requirements, we've got enhancements, bugs and corrections, etc. Those will automatically create upon approval tasks for each one of these that get popped into the backlog. That means that the project managers don't have to concentrate on administration and creation of projects, because there's templates and it's automatically creating these. What they can do is concentrate on the quality of delivery and work within tools that such as Kanban and Gantt, which we'll see, rather than spending time administrating the system, which is really important for them. And within the activity log, of course, you get the full audit history, and underneath related, you can see now we've got more documentation. So I mentioned the different fields. So if I click on risk and compliance, now you can see it's not just a description, but we've got an explanation of here of how the risk calculation works. And what the kind of demonstration of this is showing us is that you can really create any type of document or template within Agility Suite for different areas, for projects, for exit gate meetings, governance meetings, etc., down to things like risk and compliance. And those are reportable as well because they're data fields within Agility Suite. So that's how much better it is to leverage that capability as opposed to having just maybe a link to a document or something that's on SharePoint as an example. Now across here you can see we've got our risks as well, and we've got decision statuses for the risks. So if all those risks aren't accepted or mitigated, or you can see irrelevant, or of a status that's okay, then it's not going to allow you to progress to the next stage. Really, it may be that you accept those risks, so you'll have that status and it'll allow you to go through to assessment. But if there's still outstanding risks that have not been discussed or progressed, system's going to flag that up to you and say, hey, you need to look at these before you move on. And of course, in the business case, we've got all this rich kind of data as well as just the value. We talked about strategy, goals, really important to understand value delivery, importance, cost. All this data provides the metrics, which is going to feed Helix Dashboards to give you that vital information to make those key decisions throughout really the kind of life cycle from demand to a delivered project. And here we've got stakeholders. Now you can see here we've got a first approval as an architect, second approval as a BA, then a budget owner, etc., etc. So it's having those gated, staged approvals and saying, this person's got to look at it first before it comes to me, kind of thing. I'm going to be the last one that makes the overall decision. And you can have approval required no, and you'll have to put in information, which means that, of course, at this point, what's happening is that you've pre-approved that already and it'll record the information for you. Underneath here, you can see we've got resources. A real big part of not just Agility Suite, but what I spoke about in the slide is resource management, managing limited resources. Okay, and you can see that I've got numbers of resources that we need across here by skill sets as well. You can do it by regions and skill sets, and you can track time for those resources that are spent on different projects and tasks as well, which is really important. So you can manage those resources, and underneath our workspace, we probably won't get a chance today, but you can see you can put in resource requests, and underneath workspaces, you can create not only the resource requests, but you've got resource assignments too. And underneath your resources tab, you can look at things like resource availability by utilization, resources time cards as well. And think about that, not just from PPM, but as I talked about in the slides, the power of that within ITSM as well, and being able to track agent time spent on tickets, to be able to track different resources, times and activities spent across multiple different activities, driven through Helix Dashboards, of course. Now, for the last kind of few minutes we've got, I'm just going to show you a couple of more quick things. So if we go from back up, if we take a step back up and we pop back up to our portfolio and we go into our project, and let's pick our release project. Okay, so let's say that demand's transformed into a project, which I've created here. So now you can see we've got project status reporting, and we can see the RAG status underneath here, and we've got available to us the actual, and if we had historical status reports. We've got the GAN underneath here, so we can click onto the GAN and you get that Microsoft project familiar view. And in future releases on the roadmap is being able to integrate that with things like Microsoft projects as well, to be able to import and export that information. But within Helix Agility Suites, GAN, you can maneuver tasks still, you can create predecessors and successors, and all the time you're doing these kind of things within the GAN, of course, that's synchronizing that data throughout the textual database, which is feeding that vital information back up to those key decision makers, enabling you to really produce real-time reports based on that real-time data. And if we go down another level, again, as we saw for ITSM, let's pop that off, you'll be able to see we've got sprints because it created an Agile project for us. Now, in our sprints, we can also see tasks in backlog, and it's got various levels of backlog at each stage from portfolio down to project as well. So your organization never misses an idea or a requirement, which is really important. And you can see here one from the incident ticket that another incident ticket that we've not yet decided to bring in. So we can relate that to a sprint, or we can create a new task, etc. of that if we want to, and pop it into one of our sprints. So from here, we're going to go and look at one of our sprints that's ongoing. So we can click onto that sprint. And from here, what we can do is take it down to the next level, and we can click onto Kanban. And when we go on Kanban, now just like the visual boards, you've got that same view, that same ability to be responsive and to be agile, and deliver those tasks and maneuver resources and react to the changing organization's needs and priorities. And the kind of final step, because I've got a stop at quarter, so I'm monitoring the watch a little bit here. I want to show you the Helix dashboards a little bit. So all of this great data means that, we need to really understand that value. Now, if I minimize this screen and I go into my other browser, you'll get a little bit of look of Helix Dashboards. Now, under Helix Dashboards, of course, under the Browse menu, just as you get with Helix, maybe wants to sign me back on again. Just as you get with Helix Dashboards, there we go. You see, you've got Agility Suite. So you've got this whole host of other reports that you get, as you probably know, with Helix Dashboards, but also within Agility Suite, you get a lot of out-of-the-box dashboards with Agility Suite as well, to really be able to understand that ROI and value. Now let's take a look at a couple. We've got a couple of minutes left. So we've got a very powerful one here in resource management. So to be able to understand the resource and to be able to manage that resource capability. So if we successfully get it loaded, there we go, then we can see our max available hours, but this is across all request statuses and all groups. So we might want to say, well, hold up a minute, I just want to see for my R&D group, and I want to see not this year, I need to see in the last hour what I've got. So then you can quickly adjust that, and you can see I've got 248 hours available for R&D. I can see my total free time there with my max hours. I've got nothing in utilization. We're all in the green, which is good. I've got 8 members in the team, and I can see by skill. So we've got some funny ones there. You can ignore these, but we've got everything from competence really to innovation suite, ITSM, etc. So you can see those, and we can see total assigned hours. That's good. and we've got a lot of free time there. And as we drive down, we can see the primary qualifications that have been requested as well, like full stack developers, ITSM, etc., etc. And of course, further down at the bottom there, what we can see is our utilization by resource, and see our different people. Like Andy's got 4 max available hours. He hasn't had any assigned yet, and this is his free time as an example. But we can see as a BMC ops end user the same kind of story. So we've got a lot of resource available there, and you can see assigned hours by resource, etc. So that's a really powerful dashboard, and you can narrow that dashboard down as much as you want to, really. And of course, underneath here, you can schedule those reports to different managers or stakeholders, project managers, etc. And just to finish off very quickly as we reach quarter 2, and I hand it back to Bob, I just want to show you the portfolio dashboard. And this portfolio dashboard gives us this nice feel of how our portfolio is performing. And I can pick, again, an individual portfolio. So if I pick my Adobe Magento, I can see that we've got a RAG status of green. You can see we've got 2 new requirements. We've got 3 ideas that are in below the review threshold. And I can also see down here what my actual budget left is and what my actual total spend is. And at the bottom, I can see all the different tickets that have been bought into my portfolio and what the status of those are. And I think that's pretty much it for me. I think I've hit quarter 2 bang on. It's nearly midnight in the UK, but I'm happy to be with you all, and I'm going to stop sharing and hand back over to Bob for questions.
Thank you much there, Chris. That's a very good presentation. Anybody got any questions? Or I'm not seeing any in the chats over here, so I'm assuming everybody wants to verbally ask their questions. So if anybody wants to, yeah, Kay, go ahead. Your hand's up.
So right now, I'm just wondering, do you guys have plans to get that on the on-prem version of Helix, or are you just strictly SaaS right now?
No, that's a great question. No, if you're on containers, or you're looking to move to containers and you're on the 21.3 version, which I recommend really, then you can absolutely leverage Helix Agility Suite, because of course with Helix on-premise and containers, you get Innovation Studio and the benefits of that, which allows you to use BMC Helix Agility Suite.
Okay, Cage, you went back on mute.
Yeah, I got to go back on mute. So it's built on top of that on Innovation Studio, and then so as long as we got Innovation Studio, then we can go ahead and leverage it and deploy it that way. Yeah, that's right. We're working with a couple of requirements, the Middle East and onwards, who've got the same kind of, they've got a Jira system, one of them, that's right, and they're on premise because of security reasons. They can't move to the cloud, and they're moving to containers now and looking to adopt Agility Suite in the future. So yeah, absolutely, from 21.3 kind of and above, I'd say. Yeah, we've got a customer that was interested, and I didn't realize it should have made sense, but yeah, I'm not sure which route they're going to go on-prem or in the cloud, but it's nice to know that it's available in both. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's right. Same capabilities, same options. Yeah, thanks for your question. Great question.
Any other questions? So Chris, I have one. If people want to reach out to you, they just need to send an email to you, or who do they need to reach out to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they go to their BMC salesperson and say, hey, I'm interested in this thing? That
I think that's the first port of call if they're interested. Yeah, and BMC will engage us if they need, you know, a kind of expertise to do stuff really. But yeah, definitely BMC account manager, the first port of call.
Okay. I heard somebody else's mic open up. Is that you, Raj?
Yeah, I was just going to say, hi, Raj here from Fusion. I was going to say, reach out to the Fusion team, or come back to me, Raj Jandu, and I can happily point you in the right direction, set up demos, and help you with whatever you need.
All right. Excellent. I think that was a very good presentation, Chris, and I love seeing the power of stuff being developed into the new structure out there and everything. So because I'm still running on 2002
Okay.
and moving that direction to go to the containers and the on-prem, and would love to be able to start leveraging some of the innovation suite capabilities and so forth moving forward. It's that's exciting to see some of the stuff you've got there.
Yeah, you think that it's built on that, right, Bob? And you think about all that stuff that Agility Suite does. It really opens your mind. You're absolutely right to the kinds of things that you can do within Innovation Studio.
Yep, very much so. All right.